I speak about the worst situation caused by the worst troublemakers. We have always to take for granted a negotiation phase by police officer to calm down the situation and avoid the force use. So I know very well I'm representing the last solution. So this is a little summary, preliminary remarks and antagonist groups and lesson learned, planning for public order operations, mobile teams, training, procedures for public order operations, and conclusions. Preliminary remarks. The most serious and frequent threats to public order come from groups of antagonists, radicalized immigrants, or extremists, as well as from football hooligans, different among them in organization, formation, composition, ideology. We live this situation in all cities, so in all European cities. So, these people often take the occasion of media events such as political summits, cultural meetings, shows, or sporting events, stage various forms of protest and dissent that sometimes degenerate into clashes with opponents and always, I repeat, with the police forces. They make use of the total or partial consensus of social partners, trade unions, and movements, parties of reference, as well as widespread activity of linking proselytism and counter-information on the network, therefore seek maximum visibility with demonstrative actions, sometimes with violence, vandalism, and urban guerrilla. The response of the police forces must be ready, effective, proportionate, and discriminate in accordance with the different attitudes and situations. Antagonist groups, only for example, we have normally two fronts, one moderate and one radical front. There is a list of names, but they change. They are very, very many. So we have the football hooligans, different for political trend. We had red left with all communist anarchic symbols and languages. On the other part, black right with racist, fascist, Nazis symbols and languages. The organization of these groups normally is a formation, by formation 100, 300 individuals. Their characteristics, their centralized direction, wide operational autonomy, high mobility and decision speed, urban furnishings to use as offensive weapons, connection network with mobile phones, dispatch riders, and other internet-related devices. Normally, they have free health service, free legal assistance, cameramen and journalists for partisan rerun, and counter-information propaganda. Hooligans Security Handbook is an instruction for them. Cover your face so as not to be identified. Use gloves to throw objects. Bring with you disposable video cameras or cameras to film cops in action. Dress similarly to other ultras to make recognition difficult. In case of arrest, speak as little as possible, only name and surname if there is no defense lawyer. Also applies to simple witnesses. Memorize what can be used for your defense of the armored license plate, faces, and clothes of the cops. Call a reliable defense lawyer. Ask proceeding police officer for their identification document. Some photo. Lesson learned. it's a fundamental importance of the preventive information and intelligence activity before, during, and after every event that needs to be protected. It's indispensable to know very well the possible threats, identify troublemakers, and then proceed with deep and widespread controls of the concentration areas and the entry points. Police must provide the preventive filtering and selection actions according to strategies and tactics, adherent and flexible to the different scenarios and situations. Organized in light mobile teams for a greater speed of maneuvering and for dynamic contrasts, policemen must always operate in absolutely legal way, knowing to do this under cameras. Planning for public order operation, there is some very important principle for this. Different operation according to time, place, level, intensity, kind of risk with reference to extremist and violent group possible actions. You know, prevention, dissuasion, repression. Principles for planning are the same for the military operation. Information, mass, simplicity, surprise, flexibility, maneuver, and reserve. Actions only for dissuasion and repression. We have action of barrage, containment, and percussion. Percussion with short alternative controlled charge. Interception and arrest of troublemakers. Disarticulation and dispersion of opposing groups with deeper charges. In this situation, especially in the intensely populated urban areas, it's necessary to employ mobile teams, narrow streets, or in the old town historic centers, because it's difficult to draw up wider police force units. Mobile team tasks, they have to do area controls and dynamic contrast, capture of subjects belonging to small groups of troublemakers caught in action of devastation, damage to public utility plants, looting in isolated areas, prohibition of areas close to sensitive objectives, quick insertion in key points of the opposing group to disperse the most troublesome elements and neutralize their management and logistical structures. Reconnaissance in security to allow tactical connection with other teams, sector reserve for other units deployed to protect sensitive targets, recovery, rescue, action of injured and civilian or police officer remain in the street. You know, this is the phase of the approach, overcoming. These photos are taken in action. Training. Training is very important. The psycho and physical training for the emergency situation, use of special equipment, crowd troublemakers psychology, exercise with opposing parties. Procedures in public order operations. Discipline, safety, balance, and motivation of all police officers. No, absolutely no to unnecessary violence. Always proceed in terms of the law. Absolutely avoid isolation and therefore dangerous situations that may force the use of firearms for self-defense. Awareness of always operating under the cameras and the media attention. Punctual capillary video monitoring of events to document their development and identify troublemakers. Close coordination between the police units deployed in the streets and the competent public security authorities. Use of force gradually and discriminated against. Security and interoperability of radio and telematic communication. Conclusion. Public order does not allow improvisation, presupposes a high level of coordination, professionalism, organization, equipment of the police forces used, as well as continuous updating of techniques and tactics. The collaboration of the movement unions, although positive, must not be understood as a replacement for the police, which cannot and must not delegate their exclusive functions. Accurate planning, but also tactical flexibility, and therefore a greater margin for the initiative of police in the conduct phase for proportionate and discriminate responses. In-depth and widespread information intelligence and repressive activities aimed to disarticulate and neutralize the well-known most dangerous groups and troublemakers in advance in their organizational, communication, and logistical structures. In short words, a preventive strategy is the best. Thank you.